Hello everyone, welcome to Out of Spec Guide. I'm Max. Today I'm here with two of our friends from Nokian, Steve driving this Mercedes EQS, and then Tommy in the back.
Hi.
So I want to make this video basically to talk about tires, EVs of course, like what the channel is about, but basically why picking the right tires for your car in general is important, especially as it applies to winter driving like this, cold track we're on right now. So Steve, what's a good place to get started with how people should pick tires for the winter season?
Tire selection always, first of all, comes down to the vehicle that you have and the conditions that you're going to drive it in. So if you're in the south, things are a lot easier to decide on. You only really have one season to think about, maybe the occasional snow that, by some miracle comes through. But for the most part, you only have that one season that you have to worry about. And then as you travel further north, you have more and more things that you need to consider. We like to think about areas of the US where snow likes to visit and areas where snow likes to move in for 4, 5, 6 months out of the year and really live for those months. And you have different tire selections for those different areas and how much snow you end up getting through the season. If you're in an area where snow lives, to me, there is no real choice that you need to have a proper dedicated winter tire to help you get through those conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in Colorado and we driving up from Denver at 55 degrees and now we're at, I'm not even sure what we're at, 16 degrees. So, massive difference over an hour and a half of driving.
Absolutely.
And to me, that makes a big difference in your decision, that if you know that you're going to go to places where temperatures drop, conditions get difficult, you really need, for safety's sake, you need to have the right tire decision. It's almost like shoes that, you wouldn't pick a pair of thin running shoes to come into the mountains in the winter like this. Same idea that you shouldn't have summer tires or all season tires to come into these types of conditions.
Yeah, particularly we're in this EQS. I believe this is a rear wheel drive vehicle, right?
Correct. Yeah.
All-wheel drive, we can make a video all about that, what it does for winter driving, but a lot of people will say, oh, my car is dual motors, it's all-wheel drive. Do I really need winters versus all seasons? I would argue if you're in a place like, and Steve, of course, will tell you yes, but I don't work for Nokian, and I will just tell you, if you live in here where we are in Colorado, you need winter tires.
And all-wheel drive helps.
Yeah.
If you get stuck in a ditch, it helps you get out, it helps you accelerate. Doesn't really help you brake and certainly doesn't help you corner.
It's just one of those three, right?
It's one of those three. So that's really where the right tire selection can help you with overall handling of your vehicle and maintaining, safety and grip in all kinds of conditions and directions that you're steering in.
Yeah. Because, your car can be super capable, but if your wheels are slipping, that's down to your tire. I always think of it as basically the weakest link in mixed traction conditions. And I've got to say, right now we're on fine paved roads, but I-70 today has been all kinds of conditions.
And depending where you were, we were talking to somebody earlier that was driving in from Breckenridge who had 9 inches this morning, and then she got here and there wasn't really nearly as much here as she had. I mean,
yeah.
That's only, not that far away.
Yeah. And so there's this emerging category. I know like some tires are now branded as all weather, right? Because we've had all seasons for a while. I think people are pretty familiar with those. All weather tires versus, dedicated winter tires, like the kind that Nokian makes. Like what's the difference there?
So the easiest way to think about it, I mean, back in the day and even today in Nordic countries in like Finland and Norway, they basically do winter tires and summer tires, and that way you can build up a tire specific to the season without really compromising. And when we brought all season tires in North America, we were trying to find that compromise between winter and summer. Of course, because it's sort of US dominant and southern US dominant, and I think even over the last 10 years that all season tire has maybe leaned a little bit more towards the summer side of it. Mm-hmm. And all weather tires are, again, sort of that compromise between winter and summer, but it leans a little bit more towards the winter side of it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more winter leaning. You get, better capabilities in snow conditions. You get some capabilities in icy conditions, but it provides a safer alternative to what we typically know as an all-season tire.
Yeah, so the way I like to think about it is like, just like a lot of things in life, no tire is going to be great for every situation. It seems like, designing a tire, you're always going to have some kind of compromise. So it's where you make those trade-offs. And I think of a vehicle like right now we're an EQS, but another big EV, Kyle's favorite, on a spec, the Rivian, that's a very capable off-road vehicle. And I think the OE tires on that, they're decent off-road, they're decent on-road, but they have to make compromises for that. I'm sure they're probably not as capable in winter, because of their, let's say, off-road chops.
You're absolutely right. And really, as our tire designers and our R&D team, that's what they do all day, is measure those compromises. And of course, it'd be nice if you didn't have to make them, but the truth is, based on what consumers want and how you want your vehicle to handle, you have to try to find the right compromises for the tires that you're designing and building.
Yeah.
And that's all they do all day long, is debate those compromises and try to figure out the best ones for our product.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about, this is a thing, Nokian makes a line, all tire manufacturers do now, of these EV specific tires. And it's kind of like, it comes up where when people hear about this, they might think, oh, does that mean I have an EV, I need to get the EV specific model? What, in broad terms, are EV tires, and what are their general priorities?
That's a pretty loaded question. There's all kinds of different EV tires already on the market now.
Let's just say for winter driving.
Well, for winter driving, what we've done, more general, let's go back to more general sort of concepting. If we're talking about tires for an electric vehicle, in practice, you don't need an electric vehicle specific tire for your EV. What you need is, you need to make sure that the tires that you're buying are well suited to your vehicle. So for EVs, because of the weight of the EV, quite often that means that you need to make sure that the load index for your tires are enough for the weight of your vehicle. That's critical for really any vehicle, not only for electric vehicles. But because EVs are so much heavier, there's much more importance on selecting either an extra load tire, or now we're starting to see high load capacity tires come out in the market, and that makes an important safety decision. Beyond that, what we're really talking about is extras that you can get for your vehicle. So one of the key extras is, of course, range.
Yeah.
Finding the tires with the right amount of rolling resistance and trying to maximize that rolling resistance to try to improve the range.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference. In our winter tires, both our Hakkapeliitta 10 and our Hakkapeliitta R5, we have EV models that have foaming. So silent drive technology is what we call it, and the tires are foamed to try to absorb some of the noise that travels from the road into the tires. And typically what happens is it's small vibrations that carry through the wheel and then into the suspension package, and eventually in your cabin you hear the road noise.
And that's particularly noticeable in EVs, right? Because electric powertrains, the motors are much quieter than a combustion engine.
Exactly. And the foaming that's found in the tires is able to absorb some of that vibration and lower the overall noise levels inside the vehicle itself.
Yep. I want to ask you my next question, but we're going to say goodbye to Tommy. We're dropping him off here. Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
I want to know, so the foaming, are there compromises in doing that? Why doesn't every tire have foam? Like, let's just say.
Oh, there's not really compromises. It weighs almost nothing.
Just cost.
It's cost. It's expensive. We have to buy separate equipment so that when the tire comes off the line, we have to then put it to another line, get it foamed. There's lots of tuning that's required for those machines to make every different size.
Yeah.
So it's just expensive.
Yeah. And you were saying rolling resistance is another huge topic, right? Because range is always in everyone's mind with EVs, especially in winter where they have to warm the batteries. The range can already be lower. What's the kind of nature of compromise with rolling resistance, particularly in a winter tire?
In a winter tire, what we've been able to do is find ways to really improve our rolling resistance without a whole lot of compromise. In very general terms, if you're trying to improve rolling resistance, you might have to sacrifice wet grip. That's one of the areas where you're designing compounds, for example, and if you wanted to lean more towards rolling resistance, you might have to take away from wet grip.
Yeah.
There's an interesting part of that Norway right now is the biggest market for electric vehicles, so they're quite a bit more advanced than we are. But of course, it's a Nordic country, so winter tires are critically important for them.
Yeah.
The European Union developed some consumer information that was talking about, and so on your tire you have a sticker that sort of outlines exterior noise, which is important for Europe. They have a traction rating in there as well.
Yeah.
And on a winter tire, if you see a traction rating, you assume that it's winter traction, but it's actually not. It's only a wet braking. So there was a concern that all of these winter tires were showing this traction rating that was misleading consumers to buy the wrong tires. They were buying tires with better wet grip and really sacrificing their winter traction.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was probably 10 years ago, and there's been a lot of development. And just this year now, the European Union is starting to introduce, we have the 3-peak mountain snowflake that shows for winter tires, and now we're gonna have an ice grip pictogram.
Okay.
That's going to show up on the sidewall of your tires, similar to the 3-peak mountain snowflake, but that means that it has passed a different set of tests that qualify for this one pictogram, and that way people can know that they're getting, you know, a winter tire that is sufficiently effective in icy conditions.
Yeah, and that's super interesting because, right, we've been talking about winter like it's a monolithic thing, but of course winter's not going to be the same here in Colorado as it would be, let's say, Norway, or really just...
Or Toronto, where I'm from. It's vastly different.
Exactly. So wet, dry, different kind of snow conditions. That kind of brings me to my next topic. People might be familiar with studded and non-studded winter tires. At a high level, what are the differences?
Ice traction is the biggest difference.
Yeah.
And really what we're trying to do with studless tires is figure out ways for the compounds to work in ice. But when you're talking about a studded tire, you have mechanical grip, mechanical spikes that dig into the ice to give you that grip.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can really replace studded tires.
Yeah.
For Nokian Tyres, that is our flagship product. It's the product that gets the most R&D backing and money towards, you know, developing a product is our studded product, because we firmly believe that for, you know, the longest time now, studded tires is the safest tires that you can run on through the winter months.
Yeah, I mean, the climate you guys are from, right, it's very important. Even in parts of Colorado, I would argue, it's pretty nice to have studded tires. Right now, I like your shoe analogy earlier, I'm wearing shoes with spikes, so they're basically, right, studded shoes.
Yeah.
The car we're in right now, the Mercedes, is actually, it's not the studded version of this tire, right? Still doing well, but can we go outside, take a look at the kind of what the tread and everything looks like?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I like how you turn the wheels. I guess we could take a look at this front one here.
Not my first rodeo. I know how these things work. So yes, if you want to see the tread, you definitely have to get that tire turned out. So, you know, it's a little bit hard to see now. The main features of a winter tire: smaller tread blocks. You're going to get lots of sipes. So all of these little cuts are sipes, and you'll notice that there's a bit of a zigzag in it. So if you have a smaller tread block, you're going to get movement in that tread block when you're on the road. So you want to try to find a way to re-stabilize that tread block. You want to have these little cuts to give you that extra grip, but by having the little zigzags, we call it 3D siping, where as your tread block is starting to lean, it'll sort of lock into each other and it'll lean against one half of the tread block. So smaller blocks with lots of biting edges. That's what we call sort of, you know, in between these grooves. Again, when you're driving on snow and ice, you know, it gives you that ability to dig something into whatever surface you're driving on to help you come to a stop or come to a corner. And then we know that you're not only going to be driving on snow and ice, so wide grooves that help with water evacuation and, you know, some of that sort of fall and spring driving that you might need, or we're inevitably going to encounter, that these tires are going to have to also handle while you're on the road.
Yeah, super interesting. It's I think super cool in a nerdy way, at least maybe for me, just to see all this design in action, right? These looks aren't just aesthetics, right? The sipe design, everything goes into basically the compromise of the tire, and this is the stuff that you guys refine year to year, model to model.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right, it is super interesting. Tires are a marvel of engineering, right? If you think about that, your massive vehicle is being held up essentially by air.
Yeah.
So trying to build that construction of the tire to hold up your vehicle, and then on top of that, give it the performance that you want, and then chemical engineering to develop the compounds that you need to have it perform like it should. It's really a marvel of engineering how they put tires together.
Absolutely agree. And so yeah, that's just kind of a quick PSA for especially EV drivers watching this channel. Tires do matter, especially for heavy, high torque vehicles in winter. We'd love it if you get Nokians. You don't have to, but Nokian, I think, makes great tires. We've been enjoying them on all of our vehicles out of spec. And thanks, Steve, so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, Max.
Yeah.
Great meeting you.
Great meeting you. And let me know if you guys want to see other content on tires, what else you want to see as it applies to EVs. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.